This will be lesson 1, SketchUp. We're going to model the Charles Street Liberty Hotel. We're looking at what appears to be jail plan 0. Presumably that is the thick outlines indicate a foundation plan of sorts. That would be consistent with elevator, machine room in the basement, whatever. So we have subsequently opened plan 1, 2, these are very similar, 3 appear almost identical, 4, 5, and then the roof plan. There's a stair and elevator core there, and the exterior drawing indicates the various elevations, which you should save out as separate files. It'll be much easier to work with. So I'm going to start by organizing level 0, or importing a floor plan into SketchUp. Let's make sure, by the way, that these drawings the measurements are consistent with each other. So a linear dimension from that's presumably the front of the building to about the back of the building. We don't have a dimension style loader that we can see, so we'll have to copy it from somewhere else. Let me open a drawing that's got one. Let's copy a bunch of stuff here too. And plan 0, plan 1. Let's change this dimension now to type. We can see 318 feet. Let's do another measurement. So a couple inches off, we think the drawings are consistent. Let us start SketchUp. Hope that AutoCAD doesn't crash here. I don't think it will. Whenever you're doing something that requires measurement, I would change camera to parallel. Let's go to a top view or the plan view, because we're importing a plan view file import. We'll go straight to our working folder. I think we have a file folder called AutoCAD. Jail plan 0. So that imports as a component. We're going to want to collapse these layers as soon as possible. So I'll create layers for the various floor. AutoCAD floor 0, etc., etc. Floor 1, okay, 2, I think 5 is all we got before we have roof, right? Might as well create a layer for the roof. Let's rename this so we're consistent. Let's save the file before anything happens. And we'll go to that same folder. Liberty Hotel Lesson 1. Before I start importing the other drawings, let's consider the east, west, north, and south elevation. So we have a drawing, that's the south elevation. So I think I can import it and place it. If I go to a front view here, consider this, and File, Import, the drawing that I call the south elevation, import failed. It's possible that I should have saved it out as a could still be open. Let's go to AutoCAD. See what happened with that. South elevation. I'm going to save it as a older version. Save as drawing. Let's save as a 2013. V2013. Go back to SketchUp and import that. Sometimes those are the types of adjustments that you'll have to make. Now, what did it do with this drawing? I believe it just sort of placed it flat. So we're going to have to take that. We could use component attributes to rotate it about the red axis. So let's see how we can do that. Component attribute. Let's add an attribute. Rotation about the red axis is the x-axis. Let's call it 90. Right? So that places it upright. You still have to put it in the correct place. So I'm going to go and move see if we can find that edge. Move it to this axis and go to isometric view. And align this outside edge to, hey, and drag from this side, lock the red axis in place and constrain it to that green point. Okay? So now that elevation's in the right place. If I go to the back of the drawing, that was the front, right? That's my south side. If I go to the back, right back, I could bring in the north elevation. I believe that's going to fail, so I'm going to have to go to AutoCAD, open that north elevation, and save it out in version 2013. V2013. Before I do that, let's try anyway to open, import the north elevation. Did it work? No, that failed. Let's try this in 2013. Import north elevation V2013. You have to look at the drawing, and in fact we do have that elevation. It's oriented the wrong way, so I'm going to right click and flip it first along the component's green axis. Nope. Flip it along the blue axis. No. Flip it along the red axis. Okay, that oriented it correctly. Now I'm going to component attributes and assign a Z rotation value and call it 90. Nope. Moving it this way. I'm just going to rotate it using the rotate tool, which is always an option. So let's just snap to the object, arrow key. That's how we want it. We want to tilt it up. Oops. Let's go to the front view, back view. Back? Yeah. Let's move it so that that edge, lock the red axis in place and align to that edge, and then raise from that elevation mark, let the blue axis in place, to, I believe it'll be that elevation mark. So now we have the elevations in the correct place. Right? Let's take this CAD stuff. Delete those layers, move all the geometry to layer 0. Oh! Sorry. Don't delete your AutoCAD stuff as well. AutoCAD layer. Yeah. Okay. That thing goes to auto. Oh, we haven't made layers for it yet. North. AutoCAD. South. So this goes to AutoCAD. North. This goes to AutoCAD South. That goes to AutoCAD Floor 0. Let's go back to the AutoCAD drawing and see if we can ascertain where it is these drawings are going to live. Now, we don't have a position, a 0 position, so that it's not going to be terribly helpful to us because we don't have an elevation for the basement level, but we do for what appears to be floor 1. None of this is visible in SketchUp because that text annotations don't come in. That elevation of 1910 is an absolute elevation value, right? It's above sea level because the building isn't 20 feet up in the air. So I'm going to take floor 1 and place it at that elevation in the SketchUp model. SketchUp. File, import, plan 1, let's turn off visibility for these elevations for the time being and see where the plans have ended up. One thing useful here is you can click here and say color by layer. So what that does, well, it isn't affected. Let's skip that for now. Let's make sure the drawings are correctly aligned with respect to each other. So we started to align the layer 0, so that's going to be our fixed point. Let's just lock, well, before we lock that, let's do something. Let's assign it an elevation, something below grade. Let's just say, give it an attribute that the Z position is minus 8 feet. So it'll be below grade somewhere. Now we need to align, let's go to a top view. We need to align and lock that. Sorry. Right click and say lock. So we've locked the basement elevation drawing. Now I'm going to take this first floor and move it so that it's aligned with the basement elevation. Let's start at one end. Let's take that edge, drag in this direction, lock the red axis in place, select an endpoint. You need an endpoint to snap to. Did that do it? It appears that did. Let's go to isometric view. Okay, so the basement drawing is 8 feet below grade. Level 1 is where it's supposed to be. I'm going to delete the layers associated with the import and just take this drawing and move it to AutoCAD floor 1. Now we can similarly do that for the rest of the levels. So we might as well finish that up. And we don't have to work with every single drawing. We can make inferences about the first floor plan, say the outline of the walls, the thickness of the walls, and extrude them to the height that our elevations are telling us. But these are first steps. So let's go to let's just bring in, import up level 2. Jail plan 1, there's jail plan 2. Let's move it to AutoCAD floor 2. Get rid of the AutoCAD layers, move the geometry to default. File, import, jail plan 3. That's floor 2. Let's just hide the visibility of that layer. Here's jail plan 3. We'll move it to AutoCAD floor 3. Remove the, collapse those AutoCAD layers that we don't need. We can hide AutoCAD floor 3. For that matter, we can hide AutoCAD floor 1. So what are we missing now? Import floor 4. There is floor entity info. Let's move it to AutoCAD floor 4. Delete those layers. Save, just in case. Hide. Floor 4. Import floor 5. Move it to AutoCAD floor 5. Get rid of the layers. Let's begin aligning these drawings. Go to the top. Floor 5 is pretty close. Not exactly, right? So select it, grab an edge that we want to align, lock that axis in place, and snap to an endpoint. That is now, it's not a perfect drawing, but we're learning to work with imperfect drawings. Right? Floor, let's see how floor 4 looks. Floor 4 looks okay. Floor 3 looks okay. Floor 2 is way off. Select an edge, drag, red axis constrained in place, locked in place. Now it's a matter of assigning the value, the elevation values for those floor plans. That will have to do a little bit of detective work. So let's go to the AutoCAD drawing, and we're going to say, if we say that 0 is that 1910, we're gonna use these intervals. So we're going to 1910 is going to correspond to 0. So what I'm going to do is AutoCAD level 2, I'm going to assign a Z value of 11.5. AutoCAD 3, I'm going to assign a Z value of 11.5 plus 10.6, etc., etc. Let's just move this CAD drawing out of the way and move it to another screen, so you won't be able to see it, but you'll understand what I've done. Hide floor 2. Floor 1, if I go to a front view, we see that floor 1 is there at 0, 0. Let's hide floor 1. Floor 2 is currently at 0, 0. It doesn't matter. I'm going to window component. I'm going to set comport. That's jail. Sorry, that's jail plan 1. 2. I'm going to set Z to 11.5. 11 feet 5 inches. Enter. Floor 2 is in the right place. Save this. Let's turn on floor 3. Floor 3 needs a Z value of 11.5 plus 10.6. So that's going to be 21.11. Z position 21.11. That's floor 3. Floor 4 is going to need a Z position of 21.11 plus 10.6. 31.11, 32.5. 32 feet, 5 inches. And finally, Level 5 is going to get 32 feet 5 inches plus 10.6, so it's going to get 42 5 plus 6 inches, 42.11. Position Z, 42 feet 11 inches. Okay, if I've done this correctly, when I turn on my elevation drawing, my floor levels should align with those markers. That's below grade. Right? So let's go to our front view. Looks like they do. All right? So we'll save that as lesson 1, and that's basically just organizing the AutoCAD. We haven't modeled any geometry yet, but we've set up some critical we've taken some critical organizational steps so we can start to model this building correctly.